Climate change is having a tremendous impact on Europe's major river systems, causing them to dry up at an alarming rate. This has serious implications for the agricultural industry, which relies on rivers for irrigation and other necessary services. In addition, the drying of rivers can lead to a decrease in water availability for other activities, such as fishing, recreation, and drinking water. This can devastate cities, towns, and villages that rely on rivers for their water supply. Climate change is also causing a decrease in the amount of water available for crops, which is leading to a decrease in harvest yields. This decrease in crop yields can lead to a decrease in food security in the region, which is a major cause of concern. The drying up of major rivers in Europe. Europe has a long history of human development and is home to some of the largest rivers in the world. Unfortunately, many of these rivers are now being affected by water scarcity due to drought, climate change, and other human activities. The Danube, one of Europe's largest rivers, is now facing water shortages due to a combination of climate change and human activities. This river is a major source of drinking water for many of its inhabitants, and it is also a vital shipping route for many countries in Central and Eastern Europe. The river is so low in some areas that it has caused major navigation issues for ships, and it has also caused a decrease in the quality of the water. The Rhine, Po, and Elbe rivers are also large rivers running through several countries in the continent, which are facing water scarcities, causing a decrease in water quality and navigational issues for ships. The lack of water is a major problem in Europe, and its effects on the agricultural industry are far-reaching. Water shortages reduce the amount of water available for irrigation, which is a crucial element in the production of food crops. This reduced water availability for irrigation can lead to lower crop yields, decreased income, and ultimately, food insecurity. Water scarcity also has an impact on the quality of the soil. Without enough water, the soil can become dry and compact, leading to decreased soil fertility and reduced harvest yields. Additionally, a lack of water increases the risk of soil erosion, which can lead to further decreases in productivity. Drought conditions caused by water scarcity can also cause major problems for farmers, as a lack of water can lead to crop failure, as the plants will not be able to absorb the necessary water to survive. This can lead to decreased incomes and increased financial insecurity for farmers. The drying up of large European rivers has caused an increase in the number of certain types of pests, including mosquitoes, ticks, and flies. These pests can increase the risk of disease and infections, as well as cause a nuisance to humans and other animals. The drying up of rivers can also lead to an increase in the number of weeds and invasive plant species, which can further reduce the quality of their ecosystems. One of the impacts of climate change is an increase in specific waterborne diseases due to large European rivers drying up. This is because when rivers dry up, the water that remains is often stagnant and of lower quality, thus making it easier for bacteria and other pathogens to thrive and spread. This can lead to an increase in waterborne diseases such as cholera, typhoid, and dysentery. The economic and environmental impacts of the major rivers drying up are huge, including water shortages, reducing biodiversity, impacting ecosystems, and higher food prices. One of the most serious impacts of large European rivers drying up is the effect it has on specific food prices. As water levels drop and rivers dry up, farmers are no longer able to access the water they need to irrigate their crops. This can lead to crop failure and a decrease in crop yields, which in turn can lead to a decrease in food production and an increase in food prices. Additionally, the lack of access to water can lead to the loss of livestock and fish populations, further decreasing food availability and driving up prices. As a result, the availability of certain foods, particularly fresh produce, can become scarce, and prices can increase significantly. Other economic impacts of water scarcity include a decrease in the availability of drinking water, as water sources become contaminated. This can lead to an increase in the cost of purifying water, as it becomes increasingly difficult to find clean water sources. Additionally, water scarcity can lead to a decrease in the availability of energy, as many power plants rely on water to generate electricity. Water scarcity can also lead to an increase in unemployment, as workers in the agricultural sector may find themselves without jobs due to the decrease in crop yields. This can also lead to a decrease in tourism, as the lack of water can make it harder for people to travel to certain destinations. All in all, Water scarcity has a significant impact on the economic well-being of Europe's countries and communities. The decrease in the volume of these European rivers has had a significant impact on the surrounding ecosystems. The effects can be seen in the specific fish and bird populations that are impacted. These rivers are essential for the livelihoods of many species of fish and birds, providing them with food and shelter. As these rivers dry up, these species are left without their primary sources of sustenance and their populations suffer. This has been particularly evident in the populations of salmon, trout, cormorants, and other species that are adapted to live in the fast-flowing waters of the rivers. Without these rivers, these populations have dwindled, and their future is uncertain. The decrease in water levels has also caused the drying up of wetland areas along the rivers, which have provided vital habitats for many species of plants and animals. The disappearance of these wetlands has caused a decrease in biodiversity in the region, as many species of plants and animals that depend on the wetland areas for their survival are no longer able to survive. In addition, the drying of the wetlands has led to an increase in the amount of sediment and pollutants that enter the river, which can cause problems with water quality and can harm aquatic species. The drying up of rivers in Europe can have a detrimental effect on the species that rely on them for survival, as well as the ecosystems of the areas around them. To prevent this from happening, it is important to take steps to conserve water and reduce pollution levels, as well as to prevent soil erosion. By doing this, we can help ensure that the rivers in Europe remain healthy and can support the species and ecosystems that rely on them. Climate change is having a dramatic impact on Europe's rivers, with increasing temperatures and changing precipitation patterns leading to water scarcity, flooding, and other challenges. To protect the long-term health of these rivers and the communities that rely on them, it is essential to implement climate change adaptation strategies. Water conservation is one of the most important strategies for protecting Europe's rivers from the impacts of climate change. By reducing the amount of water being extracted from rivers for human use, it is possible to ensure that there is enough water available to meet the needs of the environment and the people who depend upon it. This can be achieved through the implementation of water conservation measures, such as improved irrigation systems, water recycling, and the use of gray water. An essential adaptation measure for mitigating climate change is the implementation of sustainable agricultural methods. These include no-till farming, crop rotation, and integrated pest management, which can conserve water and other resources in crop production. Additionally, the use of cover crops and other soil conservation techniques can help to reduce soil erosion and protect Europe's rivers from siltation and other forms of pollution. In addition to the direct strategies for protecting Europe's rivers from the impacts of climate change, it is also important to ensure that the communities that rely upon them are prepared for the changes that are coming. This can be achieved through the provision of education and training to help people understand how climate change is impacting their local environment and the measures they can take to protect their river systems and their livelihoods. To secure the longevity of Europe's rivers and the well-being of the people relying on them, climate change adaptation methods such as water preservation and sustainable agricultural practices must be implemented. By enforcing these strategies, it is possible to reduce the negative impacts of climate change and ensure that Europe's rivers and the people who rely upon them remain healthy and prosperous.